that is best for them to succeed. I also want to ensure that when they leave TAP, they're aware of other programs established to ensure their success, such as veterans mentoring and networking programs, SBA assistance programs, and state programs for veteran-owned small businesses. Frequently, the Committee on Veterans Affairs hears about how the application to apply to be a veteran-owned small business or service-disabled veteran-owned small business is filled with bureaucratic paperwork and overly complicated, and after 3 to 4 times, they just stop trying to apply. During the full committee hearing in the VA last year, we also heard about the lack of opportunities in rural areas for veterans applying to be a VOSB or a SDVOSB. Wow, check that out. Huge acronyms. It's difficult to get questions answered or fill out an application correctly when the nearest assistance you is available to you is over 100 miles away. In today's day and age, these government agencies must adapt to reach veterans or anyone wherever we can, and we're going to see an example of that by the ranking member's witness we're remoting in here. Finally, the federal government has worked hard to create specific programs to help certain individuals achieve the American dream for various reasons. Ensuring a veteran-owned business receives every advantage the federal government can afford should be a priority for programs, since just 1% of Americans serve in uniform. These men and women should receive the same, if not preferential treatment when it comes to government contracting, tax breaks, and streamlining the application process. And I look forward to finding these solutions with my friends and colleagues, Ranking Member Levin, as well as my colleagues from the Small Business Committee. I'm very excited to hear your testimony today and see how we can help you better. And with that, Mr. Chairman, thank the gentlelady. As I said, Mr. Levin and I are on the Economic Opportunity Subcommittee for the VA, Mr. Haydick, and what we've noticed is that the VA is, at its core, the bureaucracy is incredibly incompetent. I get all my health care through the VA, including these raging glasses, and everybody that cleans that VA facility, to the folks that check you in on the desk and provide medical care, are aces. They're just, I'm so proud of them. But when we get up to D.C., it becomes convoluted. So the VA is so dysfunctional that veteran suicide is increasing, although we've given them $120 billion since 9/11. So they recognize their dysfunction, and they started something called the Staff Sergeant Fox Grant Program, where we give the VA money, and then they find organizations that are functional, and they give the money that we give them to the organizations that are actually doing the work. And although I do not encourage this, I would not like to be an enabler, I'm wondering if the small business, the SBA, were to have a program like that that was specifically designed to cater directly to veteran-owned businesses as a clearinghouse to kind of skip all the rest of this noise and the static that we hear. Do you think that that would be beneficial to you guys? I'll start with you, Mr. Belkamp.
I can see some benefits to doing that, certainly. I think that a lot of this is awareness. Veterans have to make veterans aware of the programs that are out there. There are enormous amounts of opportunities. You know, SBA, SBDC, VOBC, et cetera. So they need some awareness to it, and they also need some more awareness to some of the civilian organizations that offer free counseling and facilitation of veterans to start businesses, like NSBA, like National Veteran Small Business Coalition. I'm on the board of both of them. You know, if somebody asked me for a scholarship to join the organization as a board member, I wouldn't hesitate to help them. And I know others feel the same way.
Mr. Haydick?
I believe that this falls right into a project that we have a proposal into the VA right now for privatization of the operation and maintenance of the VA wastewater treatment facilities at Northport. I was in government for a 5-year stint as the Commissioner of Public Works, as the Chairman had mentioned, and I think that there are many ways in which the private sector could do some of the work that government does better than the government does, and there's some things that we shouldn't be involved in. But I do think that there are things like that would work very well.
I would love to follow up with you. Ms. Brown, do you think that it would be beneficial if the SBA had a cadre of people that are specifically assigned to helping military veterans and active duty servicemen and women to get grants and facilitate starting and running small businesses? Ma'am.
And military spouses, of course.
Hey, I'm married to one, or was. I mean, I'm still married to her, but I'm not in the military any longer. Did you hear that, Sarah? Write that down.
That's called a veteran spouse. And yes, absolutely. I mean, again, nothing against, I work closely with the SBA's Office of Veteran Business Development. I have applied multiple times to be on their advisory council and have been turned down every time. As far as I know, they've never had a military spouse on that, so that's one issue. I also, again, as I mentioned, there are the majority of, sorry, I'm looking at the time. To answer your question, yes. First of all, they need to be turning to the experts.
Yep.
Right.
Ms. Brown, my time has expired. I will take that as yes. I appreciate that greatly. Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Haydick, you've been very clear that you have not come here to criticize these federal programs, and I would like to take that burden for you. You sat here and it's amazing that you're praising the acumen of the government of the state of New York and their ability to make sure that veterans are employed in comparison to the federal government, which is, without using vulgarity, I don't know how to describe the federal government's process at this point. So I just want to ask you some stuff. Ranking Member Levin and I were responsible for the Transition Assistance Program. And that's how I've chosen to try to prevent veteran suicide, taking people that are productive members of the military and then immediately transitioning them to productive members of society writ large as civilians. I think it's that 24-month window where our men and women decide to take a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And so I really want to know, I'm going to ask all three of you this, how do you think that Mike and I can change the transition assistance program using your subject matter expertise? Because we don't have to ask the DOD, we can tell them. What could we possibly do if you could just have a couple suggestions that Mike and I can take back to our subcommittee and put that into the TAP program so that we can help our veterans become productive members of society? And I'd like to write these down if that's okay. Mr. Belknap?
Sure. Thank you, Congressman, for this opportunity. Yep. Thank you, Congressman, for this opportunity. A couple of thoughts. Number one is transition program that you helped founded is amazing and incredible service to our departing veterans from the service and transitioning into the commercial world. I talked about mentorship and how that helped me find a job, a corporate job after I exited. I would suggest that a similar way can happen with encouraging veterans to become entrepreneurs after they leave as well. And what that takes is a couple things. It takes, number one, their realization that it's another way to serve their country for all the right reasons. We need a strong industrial base, and they're contributing to our security in another manner.
Sir, I do not mean to,
Sure.
to cut you short, but the coach there is going to whap me with that gavel if we don't hit it. So I got small business mentorship. Do you have another one?
Sorry.
That's all right. Do you have another suggestion?
Yes. So the mentorship is huge, and letting and informing, encouraging veterans that there's another way to serve their country.
Very well. Thank you.
That's huge.
Mr. Haydick? Do you have any specific recommendations for Ranking Member Levin and I to bring into the TAP program?
With respect to transition you're talking
That is correct, sir.
I really don't know what the answer to that is. One of the things I discussed with Mr. Lalota's staff when they called, and I spoke with them, it's a vexing problem, especially in the case of a professional practice. But I do think that there should be some consideration of being allowed to keep the designation of SDVOB going for a significant period of time that could allow the firm to continue to exist, both to members of the family and or to others that you may have started to transition it to.
Sir, thank you very much. I'd like to give Ms. Brown a minute. Ma'am?
Thank you for that question. Yes, I absolutely. So what you refer to, Derek, is a sense of purpose. I sort of feel like that is what we do, is we're helping people find their sense of purpose after service. First of all, I've been to TAPS. They do offer an optional session on entrepreneurship. In my experience, whether it's good or not totally depends on who's teaching it. I've literally been in one, ended up stepping up and teaching the class myself because the person that was assigned to teach it had never started a business and didn't really know what they were talking about. They were regurgitating government programs that were available. Well, that's great and all well and good, but when your boot's on the ground and you got to make payroll, you need real world answers and solutions. So my suggestion is engage. The government needs to engage with organizations that are doing the work on the ground, right? There needs to be more of that collaboration. We're cut off. The SBA just launched Pathways to Business for Military Spouses. And I mean, I'm nothing against my SBA partners, but they are, it is not well attended and it's not. So why would they do that? The last thing really quick, the GI Bill. Okay, not all veterans and their family members want to go to college. Right? Please start the conversation. Over 80% of our business owners right now, veteran-owned, are over 70 years old.
Ms. Brown, my time has expired.